Hey guys, welcome to the Pop World Podcast. This is Saturday Night Live here with Reena Wadia, who I'm sure you guys all recognize. She's on Instagram with a couple of accounts. Reena, how's your weekend been so far?
Yeah, really good. Busy as always, doing different types of work. But yeah, I've been working on my clinic and getting it all prepared. So try and have some downtime now. I think it's important to rest. So trying to chill.
Yeah, and I've dragged you onto here instead of chilling
Yes,
out.
I know. Make it chilled, and then yeah, no dentistry today.
No, we'll not talk teeth per se. The clinic's all new though, so that's really fun and interesting.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time. So we're moving the clinic to 75 Harley Street, which is a kind of big step up for us. More so because of the location, and we're expanding, but also we're building it from scratch. So it's a humongous project,
Mm.
probably the biggest thing I've done in my life so far. Yeah, it's two surgeries, a seminar room as well. So and just trying to do it perfectly because this I think is going to be my home for the next 40 years. So it's stressful but really fun, and really satisfying. So being all my free time is pretty much on that right now.
What made you take the step? And what were you doing beforehand actually that makes you
Yeah,
feel
so
like, okay, you know what, I've got an idea and let's jump in the deep end with my own place.
after I did my dentistry, I did a few years in hospital and practice, and I quickly realized I wanted to specialize. But once I'd specialized, most specialists, I would say probably about 95% of specialists would then work for different practices, which is quite normal.
Mm.
You'd finish practice like one practice on a Monday, another practice on a Tuesday, and I had lots of friends, who work for like five, six practices. Some of them have 2 week calendars, so like one week is different to the other. So I mean, I had the choice of doing that, and then my mentor was like, "Rena, you sure you want to do that, and still have a nice, balanced life? It's going to be quite tricky." So I thought, actually, you know what? I quite like doing my own thing. Why not give it a
Yeah.
go? And so 3 years ago, I started off renting just a small room, still in the same area, but just literally, I started renting a room once a week, and I thought, is this going to work? Is this not? And my first day, I had like one patient who was my dad. So I don't even know if it counts. And I was like, what am I doing? But anyway, after like a few months, slowly, the book started getting busier. And a year later, we opened kind of full time, and slowly been building it up, and finally got to a place where I can kind of have a long lease, somewhere I've always dreamed, which is Harley Street.
Yeah. What's it like for a perio specialist? Because I mean, for a general dentist,
Yeah.
it's nice and easy because the patients tend to come back unless you've really cheesed them off. Uh,
Yes.
you don't have that recurrent sort of thing. No, well, maybe a little, because your perio requires a bit more maintenance.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think it's slightly different to like endo, where you send you do the root canal, and you send the patient back to the GDP. With perio, it's slightly different. So most of the patients are referred. Probably say about 80% of patients are referred either from dentists, but also
Mm.
hygienists. For periodontists, I think hygienists are a big group of referrers, as a lot of the time they're seeing the perio cases in practice. So a lot of patients are referred. We do get quite a lot of direct patients as well. There was a huge thing in the media, now, but also a couple of years ago, on gum health being linked to things like Alzheimer's and heart disease. And so I had quite a few direct patients literally calling me saying, Rena, can you check my gums? I'm worried I'm going to get Alzheimer's. So we have an element of direct patients. And since the lockdown, actually, quite a lot of young, sort of between 20 to 30-year-olds have just called and say, I think I've got something wrong with my gums. I don't know if people are staring at themselves for ages in the mirror in lockdown, but I've definitely seen a rise in direct patients. But anyway, we treat the patients, whatever issue they have. They usually stay on for maintenance for about 6 months, but then we discharge them back to their local dentist. Some of them stay on, but I try to work quite closely with the local practices so that they can then be ready to take them on long term. So it's quite fun. It's quite a team. I think perio is a team approach. You're working with your referrer, your dentist, but also the hygienist. You're working with your patient as
Yeah.
well, because as you compliance is absolutely huge. And if you don't build that relationship with your patient, you're just not going to get the results. So it's a real team approach, but it's really fun.
Yeah, I guess people have been kind of looking in the mirror a lot, or even on Zoom calls. I mean, we're on Skype right now, so
Yeah.
that's kind of how it's going, and your face is blown up, so maybe that's what's going on. And I know the people who are orthodontists are seeing a lot people wearing masks now, so that people want people
Yes.
want the tracks on now because the masks are on.
Yes. Yeah.
So
No, I agree, and I think it's probably a good thing. Like younger people are paying more attention to their health, including their mouth. Uh, I remember, I mean, some of my patients are like 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, and I'm thinking when I was 22 or 23, I don't remember even consider, even though I was interested in dental, I don't really, remember myself paying that much attention to my health, definitely my gum health. So it's really interesting. I think it's a great thing that people are paying more attention to fitness and well-being. So yeah, it's great.
yeah, I think it's maybe our generation, well, maybe even the
Yeah.
generation, but younger than me now as well, because I'm 28. So let's not talk about that.
You're getting old.
But yeah, younger generations maybe are a little bit more aware of health because it's on
Yeah.
social media and people are talking about it more open, isn't it? A little bit.
No, definitely, and it's I think I feel like there's a shift not just about aesthetics, but it's kind of 360 back to now thinking about health and the relationship between oral health, general health, fitness, well-being, nutrition. It's all linked in.
Yeah.
Uh, and I personally think there's such a big thing now on wellness. I think oral health should be a part of it. And that's kind of one of the messages I'm trying to push out just to general public and media is, we spend so much time looking at how we can look after our body, like fitness regimes, what we eat, we count every calorie. Then what about our mouth? Why are we not looking after it? Why are we not using interdentals? All those kind of things. I don't want to go on about OHI today, so
Yeah,
but
that's, I mean, it's touching on a topic that I really enjoy, which is kind of
yeah,
um, sports medicine almost, or like like a holistic sort of look at the body.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
I think there was a study in, I may be wrong here. I think it was UCL, the Eastman,
yes,
where they got
yeah,
some rowers, rugby players,
yeah,
footballers,
yeah,
and they did some crazy OHI and then had a look at
yeah,
performance at the end, and it was like an
yes,
improvement. And I'm obsessed with
yeah,
this. I tried to get the guy on. He didn't reply to my email, unfortunately.
yeah. Ian Needleman
Yeah,
is
that's
is,
him.
is amazing. So yeah, they've done lots of studies on how in fact, just oral health can impact on the performance of elite athletes. And there is a massive trend. It's not it's the link, the systemic link, but also if you've got caries and infection and inflammation, how is that going to affect your body?
Mm,
And athletes obviously they put so much effort into training, and every minute I think oral health, what we were saying was oral health should be a part of that. So um, it's also, I guess, the diet they have and the sugary gels they have to have with endurance
yeah.
performance and stuff. So it all links together. I find it fascinating, that
Yeah,
whole
it's so
topic.
cool. I mean, it really makes sense when you think about it. Like, if you've got gingivitis, that's inflammation, and inflammation doesn't just stay in the mouth. It's going to go to your
Yeah,
knees and your muscles,
yeah, yeah,
and that
yeah.
can be the difference between picking up a hamstring injury if there's inflammation and not. And
100%.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Uh, It is, and it's the thing is, we think it's crazy, but when you look at someone, obviously their mouth is connected with the rest of their body, so we shouldn't be so surprised,
Yeah,
but all of us are. And I mean, from my point of view, I see lots of perio patients which are quite severe, and I always say to them, it's like if you've got periodontitis, it's like having an ulcer the size of your palm, and that amount of inflammation going into your body. Now, if you had a massive, and if a sports person especially had a massive ulcer the size of your palm, you're not going to feel so well, right?
yeah,
So it's the same thing. I didn't quite believe it until I started treating patients and then getting them back. And what I found, when they come back, they actually say, "Oh my God, I've got so much more energy. I couldn't quite pinpoint what it was, but I just feel so much better now." And I'm like, I didn't believe it, I have to say before, but now I'm actually seeing patients saying
yeah,
that. You're like, wow, I'm not just a tooth, a gum doctor. Actually, I can influence the rest of the body, which is, I think, is what it's all about, to be
yeah.
honest. So holistic care is
It's
key.
especially with perio because you've got such a wide ranging sort of
Yeah,
instructions that we give. It's not just brush your teeth. There's so
yeah,
much more to it than that. And I don't know how deep you
yeah.
go into it. Do you go into like the food that they should be eating, vitamins,
Uh,
minerals, like all these crazy things?
yeah, I think lots of patients will ask me, well, should I eat a certain diet? Would it be better for my oral health? With perio, it kind of makes sense because if you think about the periodontal structure, you've got your connective tissue, your epithelium, it all needs to turn over. So nutrition logically does make sense, and there is a huge role between nutrition and perio. There's loads of studies on it. Ian Chappell has done quite a lot in Birmingham. There's some things like vitamin C, vitamin D, magnesium, zinc. I personally, rather than kind of recommending a supplement, I'll just say, you know, as long as you've got a good amount of nutrition in your diet, that's kind of good enough. So, but things may change, you know. Oh,
There's my
okay,
zinc.
ZMA. I like started taking supplements. It's probably like a year ago, and I didn't believe in them. And now I think I take like 8 different tablets. But honestly, it makes such a difference. I'm vegetarian, so I'm sure I lack in some stuff. So no, but nutrition is good. I think it's really important in perio.
It's
Sure.
like I mean, I don't like perio, but it's the most interesting part of perio to me, like the nutrition
Yeah,
side and how it all links in, because it's kind of nutrition. I like the gym. I like nutrition. And
yeah,
perio is kind
yeah.
of involved, but I don't like perio. But I'll allow it because you know it's close enough. But it's interesting because I had an endo patient in my FD going back a while now, and I did a retreat, and afterwards he texts me, he goes, "Oh, it feels
Yeah.
I can breathe more clearly through my nose now because he had some congestion."
God,
He's like
right.
it's like he goes, "It feels clearer," and I was like, "That's insane." And he goes, "I could pinpoint it from the day that you cleaned everything out till after."
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and it's the same with perio
No,
though.
yeah, no, it is. I think it is the thing. I think we think it's surprising, but it makes sense that the rest of the body is connected with the mouth. So yeah, no, it's great we can have an influence on people's lives. It's, I guess it's not just a systemic link, it's also perio does have an impact on someone's quality of life. So like if someone's got a really loose tooth that's uncomfortable to eat
Yeah,
on, I mean, imagine if you had that every single time you eat something, you're in discomfort, and it's not fun eating one side of your mouth. Or if you've got bad breath, people don't talk about it, but it does affect people's confidence. It does affect their, the way they feel about themselves. So I think we shouldn't underestimate, just because if we
oh
might
yeah.
have healthy gums, how much impact it can have on someone's life, and how much impact it can have if we can actually do something about it. So
It's super important.
yeah,
We've kind of gone the direction we didn't want to go a little bit, haven't we?
I know.
So your practice. Let's talk about the process of. Obviously, you knew you wanted to be on Harley Street, and that was your kind of dream. Um, what are the things that you didn't think were going to be cropping up during this process of opening up that you just had no idea about, and now you've done it? You go, I had no idea, and that came out of the blue. Regulations
Yeah,
and rules, or
yeah.
any things that surprised you?
Oh, well, the biggest thing was COVID. So
Yeah, of course.
I didn't plan for that one. So that's kind of really been a whirlwind. So we were close to, I was pretty stubborn, but we're close to not going ahead because it all kicked off during the first lockdown. And I was like, great, I have to close my current clinic for 3 months. How am I going to survive this period? How am I going to get anything done? And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take the risk. It's something I've always wanted to do. And sometimes you've got to take big risks to move forward and completely work outside of your comfort zone. So I went ahead, and then obviously the second lockdown happened, but luckily we were still open at
Yeah,
that
bit
point.
different.
But it's literally been the biggest challenge, from even simple things like trying to have meetings with your suppliers and who you're working with. It's all been it had to be virtual. Supplies, like I've ordered my chair and my materials, and everything's delayed. From simple stuff like leaflets, just everything. And one thing I didn't quite realize was how difficult it is to get a lease on Harley Street, which they go through. You have to go through so much. It's not as simple as just saying, "Oh, I want that room and I'll pay for it." It's a lot more that's involved. They have to vet you, and you have to do all these forms, and there's so many hurdles you have to go through.
Mm,
So COVID's probably been one of the things I obviously didn't plan for. Um, I guess along the way as well, everything took much longer than I thought it would. And I mean, I'm not fully done yet, actually. I'm still halfway through the build, but everything's taken much longer. I guess I don't know if it's because we're all kind of the same generation, but we always want things done really quickly, and we think everything's gonna be fine. But I think those with experience had told me, Reena, it's going to take you a little bit longer than you might think. And it's probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned is, have that buffer time, plan in longer than you
yeah.
might think. And things will always, with these projects, things will always crop up at the last minute that you don't plan for. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I was speaking to someone a while back, and they were talking about
Yeah.
buying practices, and he goes, look, it's not as simple as you just that's the one for me, and you just go for it. It goes, it takes 12 months if you're lucky,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah.
wow. So
Yeah.
it's a long haul, and you don't just kind of like turn the key and there it goes. So there's
No.
a lot to these things, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's, if you want to do it, and I'd say to people listening, like if it has been your dream to have your own practice, don't let the other things put you off. It's so easy to get put off with things like CQC and all the
Mm.
regulations and many things that didn't exist like 10 years ago, when you might have had that dream. But I think you kind of just get on with it. But I wouldn't let it put you off, I think. And it's all worth it in the
Why
end.
Harley Street?
Oh, it's just one of these little like dreams I had since I was like a tiny little girl. So when the reason I wanted to be a dentist was my actual dentist. I absolutely, he was amazing. He's still a dentist, Manny Vasant. I don't know if you know him, but he's based in South London. Literally down the road. He was my dentist. He took my teeth out for ortho, and
Mm.
like he was amazing. I was like, wow, I really want to have a practice like this. But then I always heard of Harley Street and how it's the medical district of the world. I thought, oh, I'd love to have practice. Just one of those things, when you get something in your head and it's like you just want to
It's
make it
like
happen.
every boy wants to be a footballer. Is it that?
Yeah, it's like that, basically. Yeah. So, but I think as well for me, being a specialist, being in central London works quite well because referrals can come from all parts of the
Yeah.
UK, and it's really easy for people to get to. And patients quite like coming into town as well, and then they make a day of it and they go shopping and all that kind of stuff. So it's quite a nice place to be, I think.
Yeah, what's the links like? Transport links. It's not far from all the big train stations, is it?
No, it's really easy. Like, you can get off at Bond Street, Oxford Street, like Oxford Circus, Regent's Park. It's so easy to get to. So no one really has a
Yeah,
problem
I'm
getting
terrible
there.
with London, so I'm literally I'm
Oh,
googling
really?
it right now.
London's
Where
pretty
is it?
small.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
small,
not been a fan of
around everywhere.
going to the London too much. Not the first time I've been to London, but I came down after my finals after I passed. My
Yeah,
grandparents had flown in to see my cousins, so I took the train that like next morning. I was getting
yeah,
off the train and it got delayed and stuff, so it was I was like pretty tired. And you know when you
yeah,
go through King's Cross, there's the barriers and there's a little bit of a squeeze
yeah.
and everyone's trying to get through. I kid you not, some grandma kicked my leg
Oh
so
no!
that she could go in front of me. So she ankle taps me and then does little shimmy round. I'm like, what?
Yeah, like
Wow.
we're vicious enough. No one is really very friendly, and they just want to get on with their day. So, no, I get
I was like, that's a grandma. Like I can't even
it.
give her a kick back or anything. Do you know?
Pretty funny. Yeah. To be honest, I've grown up in London. I was born in
Yeah.
London, brought up in London, live in London. So I absolutely love it. But I can see the benefits of not living in central London for the rest of my life. So yeah,
Yeah. Have you ever left London for like a
I
day
haven't.
trip or anything?
Of course, I've left London for a day trip. But yeah, I don't think I could live anywhere else right
Mm.
now.
What was your process of becoming a specialist like? Were you always going down the perio route, or did you have other ideas?
Oh, I always knew I wanted to specialize, but I was actually wanting to do prosto. So, in my final year, I did like a really big finals case, like full mouth rehab. My tutor was like, "You have to do prosto. I'll give you a place
Yeah.
here," and I was like really keen on it. I loved it. I loved doing crown bridge work. I loved composites. It was my thing. And then I graduated after that. But when I started my SHO job, and my time in practice, I thought, actually, you know what, this is probably not for me. It's quite full mouth rehabs and meeting patient expectations.
Yeah.
And then because I did my SHO job in oral surgery, and I really else would work for me. And perio, literally as an undergraduate, I hated perio. It was like the most boring thing.
I think everyone does though, don't they?
Yeah, but it's just because of the way it's taught.
Mm.
There's at postgraduate level, and I think it should be taught differently at undergraduate level. When you actually know what perio is about, it's actually really interesting. And then I decided, okay, I perhaps want to do perio, but the kind of deciding factor was I shadowed a lot of periodontists in practice, and I said to myself, is this the kind of lifestyle I want? is this kind of patient someone to be treating? And I thought actually it matches really well with what I want to do. So yeah, I literally just went for it after that.
Yeah, I think everyone goes in and thinks, oh yeah, I'm going to do cosmetics. Because you have,
Yeah,
I don't know why, but every dental student has this idea in their head that cosmetics is where the money is, or something like that, or
and it's
yeah, the
yeah,
glamour, and then Harley Street, so it's just easy to get in
yeah,
there. Um, but then you come out, and there's so much else that's out there. And I've kind of fallen on the root canal stuff, which is kind of like a
yeah,
cult, isn't it? I suppose
it is.
the
Yeah, yeah,
endodontists are definitely a bit of a cult. Like we all know each other. Um,
yeah,
so it's one of those, and I quite like it because you get. I'm a tech geek, as you can see. I've got
yeah.
all these things in my
Like
yeah,
that.
the light, everything. Yeah, so I'm a bit of a
Yeah,
tech geek. So it kind of fits what I like. Um, and you got to find that somehow. So it's really important to almost know yourself first as well, isn't it?
definitely. I think the other important thing to say is also, you don't have to specialize. Specializing isn't for everyone. Like, do you really want to be doing the same thing every single day for the rest of your life? I mean, I love it, but not everyone will want to do that. Some people will want a mix. You might not need to fully specialize. Perhaps you've just got a special interest in something, or you want a mix of things in your daily
Yeah.
practice. So I think you got to think carefully before specializing. I've seen so many people who jump into it without thinking as a default, like, because I think some people think, oh, I don't know what to do, GDP, I'm stressed out in general practice, I don't want to go back to hospital. Default seems to be specializing, which is, I've seen some people go through it and then drop out. So I think it's a decision you have to make so carefully, thinking about, firstly, as I said, do you want to do this day in, day out?
Yeah.
Secondly, do you have the capacity to want to go back to university for 3 4 years? And it's hard. Like, all my friends were getting married and having kids, and I was just literally going to university.
Do you know what puts me
I,
off? It's doing a dissertation.
and the dissertation, yeah. Well, I actually didn't think that was the worst bit. It was more the exams that you have to do, and like, don't underestimate not having social life.
Mm,
And it's at the age where you really want one. So that personal sacrifice, but also the finances. Like, when you look at the figures, um,
we get
I
that.
paid, I think it was 12K a year, but that was actually cheap compared to some of the other schools, which are like up to 24,000 pounds a year. So if you add that up, times it by 3 or 4, add in your loss of income because you're not working, it's a ton of money. And I think before investing, I'm not saying it's a wrong decision, but before investing that amount, I think you've got to be sure that you want to specialize. Yeah.
Manchester, which is the closest one to me that
Yeah.
does endo, 49 grand a year,
Oh, is it 49? Oh my God.
and apparently they're not very good.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Allegedly.
Oh
Before
my
someone
goodness.
calls me up on that, and if I ever reply to them, they just go, "Well,
That's a
uh,
lot.
yeah, it's a lot of money." Do you think there's so obviously if you become a specialist and you've done the MClin, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's also the chance that you could maybe do instead like an MSc, which is the 1 year, it might be distance
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
What is the huge upside to doing the MClin over the MSc? Because you can't get onto the specialist list. But if you just want to be good at perio, you just want to be good at endo, you just need to do it all the time. Do you
Yeah.
necessarily need to have that specialist title, or is it just a little bit of theatrics?
No, I think it depends where you want to take it. Like, if you want to call yourself a specialist, and there is benefits with that if you're a registered
Mm,
specialist, then great, go for the full thing. But I think you can do, probably just as well doing an MSc. It's all more about experience and the cases, and more importantly, the referral base. If you've got people who are willing to refer to you, if you're in a practice where you're busy with endo, maybe give that a go first, and you could always do specialist training after if you wanted to. But I just think it depends. Some people just really want to be on the specialist list, and so I don't think it's theatrical. I think it's more that the route you want to go
maybe
down. But
theatrics is the wrong word. Maybe
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
that kudos it gives you that you're on the specialist
yeah,
list.
yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I guess some patients might recognize that as well. Though the more I think about it, I just think the patient just wants you to do a good job, and they're not that interested in kind of how you've got
Yeah.
there. So, it depends. It really depends on what you want as well.
By the way, guys, if you're watching, hit the like button. It means that more people see what Reena's got to say. The question what was really interesting to me was I've actually forgotten it. It was on the tip of my tongue. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I know. How's your? It'll come back.
Yeah, the referral base. How have you
Mm,
built that up? Obviously, you've been doing a lot of social media. Um,
yeah.
has that been the main way, or has it been lunch and learns? What's been the best vehicle for you?
Yeah. So when I first graduated from dental school, I actually set up when blogging wasn't the thing, I actually set up a website blog. And I only did it because my mentor told me to do it. And he's like, you've got all these articles you're writing. Why not have a place where you share all your stuff? I used to also, I'm a bit of a geek. I used to go to lectures and then write notes and then share those notes with everyone. So um, basically, the website was a great place. And then more people started following the website, created like almost a small network of people who were following the work I did. And then I started doing more lecturing, and then the social media stuff started in terms of like, I mean, Instagram hasn't been around for that long, so it was more Facebook in the past,
Yeah.
which was big at the time. So I used to share all my stuff on that. And I think just over the last sort of 6, 7 years, I've just built a network of people who like my stuff. And then after that, when I decided I wanted to open the practice, lots of them, which wasn't intentional, lots of them said, actually, you know what, I'll refer to you. So it kind of happened as an inadvertent bonus through my blogging and things like that. So I would say that was a key source. Also visiting practices, people I know already, doing lunch and learns for them has been a great way as well. So, and I mean, the biggest thing is someone sends you a patient and you treat them well and you get good results, then that referrer is just going to send more patients
Yeah.
back. And I think that almost word of mouth and results speak for itself. So yeah, that's worked really well.
I've always had this dream of being in a practice where it's like a specialist led sort of team. Has that been something that
Yeah.
you've been involved in before? Because it seems like I don't want to make it sound like really trivial or anything, but if you watch House or what's the other one that everyone
Yeah.
great is it Grey's Anatomy? It's either House or Grey's Anatomy where they all sit in a room
Yeah.
and they're like, "What's going on?" And then someone shouts "lupus,"
Yeah.
standard. I always felt like it would be like that a little bit, and the patient gets the best of everything, and then everyone just does the bit they
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, and no, and even if, I mean, I used to work in a different practice in Harley Street when I first graduated from Perio, or actually whilst I was doing my training. But yeah, it's really fun. But even though now I'm just literally a perio practice, I do work with local like orthodontics, other
Mm.
specialties, and you are trying to provide your patient with that highest level of care. So it's really fun. And yes, you're right. You do the bit you like, and you kind of source out the rest with other people who like doing their thing.
Yeah. Did you ever sit around a table like they do in House and like argue about what the right thing to do is, and then someone storms out?
I haven't yet.
Did you ever store
I
out?
haven't
You
yet.
need to storm out like theatrically and then come back in.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think I might plan for that in my new
Yeah.
place.
I don't know. I've just got weird ideas, haven't I? Is there anything that people maybe misunderstand about you moving on slightly to
Yeah.
non-dental?
Um, mm, what do people misunderstand? I think there was a time where the older generation, like when,
Maybe on social media.
our generation,
Yeah.
yeah, on social media. So like our generation understand what Instagram's all about. They understand what blogging's about. They get that. And I think there was a time, not so recently, but I was putting stuff out there. I think the older generation who unfortunately I don't think they fully grasp it like we do. They sometimes see us doing this as like self-promotion, or like calling ourselves the expert, when what we're really doing is just sharing stuff and talking about our experiences. So I've had a bit of that where people misunderstand. It's always the older generation what I'm trying to do. But I think slowly they're jumping onto the bandwagon as well, because this is what we do, this is how we
Yeah.
communicate. So it's normal to us, but some people find it really surprising how we are. So yeah, I guess that's been a bit of an
Yeah.
issue.
How have you found the whole social media vibe? Because I think I added you in like 2013 when I was still in dental school. So I've seen some of your bits and pieces, which I'm sure I did
Yeah.
read at the time, coming up to finals and stuff. So thank you for that. um,
No, you're welcome.
but how have you found social media? How has it changed the way you do things?
Yeah, I think social media is really powerful. It's a kind of a tool that we should use obviously properly, but it's changed everything for me from the beginning of, I guess, well, website kind of counts as social media and sharing it online. Um, that's what has really, really helped build a profile, build a network, connect with other like-minded colleagues. I think I think it has tons of benefits, but obviously you have to use it very well and carefully. And I think now it's very easy to. One of the things that I find, I teach a group of young dentists every year on a course called FFQ, and we have this session where we talk about social media because I think it's such a big thing for people graduating. What they find is they, just graduated. They look on social media, look on Instagram, they see all these amazing cases by all these dentists, and they're like, "How am I ever going to achieve that?" And they feel really
Mm,
deficient. And so I think you've got to use it. If you're a new graduate, you've got to use that as inspiration rather than thinking, "Oh, I'm never going to get there and I'm inferior." So I think it's a mindset thing as well. You have to be prepared and look at social media in the correct manner. Otherwise, it can really bring you down as
yeah,
well. Um, Also, the other thing is I find on social media is a lot of people are kind of keyboard warriors, and there's a
tell me
certain way
about it.
like behind the screen, and I've had like some hate as well where I'm like, would you really say that to
Okay,
my
tell me
face?
about the
um,
haters then, because this is getting juicy.
yeah, I just think there's haters everywhere, isn't there? And I think there's always going to be a group of
Mm,
trolls who try and knock you down with whatever you do. But I think it means you're doing something right if you've got haters, because the most successful people in the world have haters. If you don't have any haters, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. So I just use it as fuel, and I stay in my lane. I stay in my path and what I'm trying to do. I used to get really upset about it. Like I used to get really, oh my God, I'm trying to please everyone, and one person says something I don't like, and I literally think about the whole night. I can't sleep. And my husband is the complete
yeah.
opposite to me. He's like, Rina, it's just got to be. You just got to, take it with a pinch of salt and just forget about it. Why are you letting it influence your energy levels and everything else? But it's easy. I think, especially women, it's easy to get upset about those things. I guess even as men. But anyway, I used to let it get me down, but now I'm just like, okay, if it's I love criticism. If it's useful, I'll use it. If it's not, at least I'm trying to do something,
Yeah.
and trying to make a
Look
change.
at the big
So
picture of
um,
what you're trying to do.
look at the bigger picture, right? The people who get hate, most of them are actually on the pitch trying to make stuff happen, and then they're just like booing in the audience, and you're like, hey, you're actually doing something. So yeah, it's interesting. The whole dynamic is
Do you
very
think again
interesting.
it's that generational divide a little bit in that
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
had cases where
yeah,
not cases because I don't really post cases as everyone sees my
yeah,
pictures, it's just
sure.
pictures of me on holiday. And by the yeah, so that's to one side. But yeah, I mean, it's maybe there was a time where I was taking pictures in clinic of myself and then doing a
Yeah,
little tip for students or something. And a couple of times
yeah,
someone would take issue. And I think there's two ways you can do that because I like a conversation or I like to be told, oh, maybe this isn't what
yeah,
you're doing, blah, blah, blah. But
absolutely,
you message that person. If you're messaging that person, for me, that's like respectful. It's like,
hundred
hey man,
percent.
did you realize actually maybe that's not quite XYZ,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to keyboard worrying it out, trying to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just find that people like that, they normally have like some personal issues or problems going on in their
Mm.
life, and taking it out on you. So I just kind of feel I never try to hate them back. I just feel for them and think, you know what, maybe you're going through something,
You
or
just reply, you
whatever.
single again.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So, but I think it's hate is a normal
Mm.
thing, and I think it's something that we just have to, as humans, kind of just acknowledge, and you can take, as you said, you can go two ways. You either accept it, and carry on with life, or you can really get to you and spoil everything. So yeah, it's an
Yeah,
interesting
is your
one.
husband a dentist as well then?
No, no, he's
Oh, you
completely
branched
different.
out.
He's in London.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I could. If I married a dentist, I think literally I'm already really bad. Like what I talk about is gums, but yeah, he's in live events, so he works in music industry and does like technology for like concerts. Far
Oh,
more
that's really
exciting.
cool.
concerts, theatre, things like that. So, I mean, at the moment, obviously, things are really bad for them. So he's helping me with. He's actually part of my team as well, and he does ops. So he's helping with the new builds, which is really handy. But yeah, he's not dental,
That's
which is
really
good.
cool because I mean, I'm technically doing live events, sort of.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, you actually. Yeah,
how are
yeah.
they dealing with the pandemic in that particular industry then?
Oh, it's just a total nightmare. Like they're trying to improvise. So, like for example, the warehouse that they have that they normally store all the kits and stuff. They're trying to do like videoed,
Sessions. Yeah.
concerts. Yeah, like concerts. Like they invite the stars and whatever, and then they just live stream everything. And people buy tickets for the show. It's just not the same. And I don't think the singers or whoever get the same adrenaline rush, and I don't know if they perform the same way, but they're trying to improvise. But it's really sad because, like for example, with theatre, right? It's not just the actors who are affected. It's the actors, it's the doormen, it's people who make the outfits. It's we forget the knock-on effect, and it's just so sad. And their company says things like, can you do something else? Like, why don't you go into this or why don't you go into that? But these guys, this is their
Mm,
life. Like that's the creative individuals, and this is what they do. So, of course, I think things will get better next year. But yeah, I think it's such a tricky time for a lot of. I think we're lucky as healthcare professionals that we can continue to work,
yeah,
but many people right now are not working, and
it's
yeah,
pretty
it's a
difficult.
difficult
Yeah.
time for people.
I think one of the coolest things I saw. Oh my god, I'm losing my
Yeah.
voice doing too much of this. Um, was I don't think it was like a rock concert or anything like that because that clearly wouldn't work. But they did a socially distanced one where you came with your little bubble and they had lots of
Yeah.
like enclosures so you could sit down with a three-course
Right.
meal and then they were like
Yeah.
playing on
Oh,
the stage. That was really
wow.
cool, and then the people were
That's
bringing
yeah.
food in and stuff like that, but it was like private little squares which were separated
Oh,
by
right.
barriers, and then there's like tables in the middle and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Very weird, but it seemed quite cool.
That is weird. That's quite yeah, it's quite
Yeah,
unique. That's the thing. You have to. I think everyone's learning to adapt to the new normal. There's no way we have to carry on. I
yeah.
think.
New normal's my like most hated term of the year. Oh, I
Really.
hate it. Every time someone says new normal, I cringe deeply inside. I, d- I don't know why. It just feels like, do you know sometimes when there's someone who's trying to make a big deal out of something, like, well this is the new
Yeah.
normal now, isn't it? I'm just like, no, just get on with it. This is just how it's just how we do things. This is how we do things now.
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
Um, what led you going all the way back to like when you're younger? What led you to healthcare in general?
Um. Well, a lot of my mum's side is very
Yeah,
medical. No one's a dentist, but they're all doctors, and I kind of liked that whole healthcare side. My dad's side is completely non-medical,
yeah,
completely different. My mum's side is all medical, and I used to kind of see my uncles; they were all working in the hospital, and I thought, oh, healthcare looks quite good. I think from my perspective as well, the kind of the other options like finance or more creative stuff didn't really appeal to me. I've always wanted to do healthcare, but it was quite clear that I wanted to do dentistry, not medicine. Because one thing that was clear from my family as well was the lifestyle of perhaps some medical professionals is not as great as it is for us as dentists. So the medical side didn't appeal to me, but the healthcare dental side definitely did. I think it's interact with people, as I said, make a difference to their life.
yeah.
um, it's an interesting area. Like you have to learn about different parts of the body. You've got to use your problem solving skills on a daily basis. So there's lots of benefits to it, I think. That's why I think I like perio because the whole holistic side of things as well. It relates quite well to the rest of the body. So
Are
it's
you a
quite
bit of a
satisfying.
talker, and Perry is a lot of talking, isn't it?
Well, so with my team, we've got 4 hygienists as well, and I always send the patient to the hygienist first
Right.
and in between treatment, and they're amazing at talking to the patient and going through everything in detail. I don't know, I have the patient's spirit, but I much prefer doing the actual treatment, the actual non-surgical treatment or surgery as well. So my hygienists are much better at it than me, so I leave them to do most of the talking.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of again the endodontists are. people who love to get the rubber dam on so the patients stop yapping,
Yeah,
and then they can get
yeah,
down to the nitty gritty of these tiny little hot canals. Uh,
yeah.
it's but yeah, I think you're right. You know, the whole medical industry, including dentistry, etc., etc. It is like a bit of a cult because once one person in the family does it, it seems to be
Yeah,
everybody else falls like dominoes. Everyone else does it somehow.
yeah. Well, there's no dental people in my family. My niece is only 2 years old, but I'm trying to think, oh, maybe I can make her a periodontist and she can take my practice. So I'm planting the seeds
This
early.
is why you're on Harley Street because it's like, oh, it's glamorous. Yes, niece, come join me here.
Yes.
Is there a certain patient that sticks in your mind that kind of just changed things for you in any way?
Let's think. There's quite a few, I would say. Most recent one, I would say, I find anxious patients and changing their sort of attitude towards dentistry is really satisfying. So I have had quite a couple. There's two that come to mind straight away. Where one of them, I mean, she wouldn't even come inside the surgery. She was literally crying her eyes
Mm,
out, and it's always because someone's had a bad experience, and that's also why I'm so careful with. I always say to my whole team, or whatever happens, make sure they have a good experience. You know, that's the most important thing, because if you give someone a bad experience, you'll put them off dental care for the rest of their life, and that will change everything. Anyway, this really sweet girl, she had a really bad experience in the past. She's from Europe somewhere, and she just wouldn't stop crying, and she wouldn't even come inside. It took like I have like an hour appointment.
yeah.
It took half an hour to get her inside the surgery, let alone sit down. It took like another 10-15 minutes for her to sit down. And then it took luckily my nurse was excellent, and she kind of calmed her down a little bit, so she sat down. And then I got my sort of I don't use normal injections. I use something called the wand. It's
The
really
the
really
one
handy.
with the foot pedal.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
brilliant. And so I got that, and I was about to numb her up, and she's like got up the chair and just like literally walked out of surgery. I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna deal with this? I managed to do like 5-10 minutes of treatment, but she was happy with that. Came back again, and we got a little bit further this time. And
Yeah.
now she like loves coming to see us, and it's like wow, to see someone change from that person to this person, it's really satisfying. I think that's one of the things I quite enjoy, actually treating initially anxious patients. I guess the other things where I quite like, and one thing that came to mind is a case I did for crown lengthening, like 3 to 3 or 5 to 5. Patients call it gum lifts now, which I find really funny. So they call it, can I have a gum lift? So I think it's more than gum. I like the word gum sculpting. It's a bit more sort of involved. But anyway, this patient, she came in to see me, it's like a year ago, and she had like zero confidence. She was getting bullied about her gummy smile. She wanted to be an actress, but they kept analysing her smile. I thought it was a bit mean, actually, because everyone's smile is individual, and
Yeah.
she was actually fine with her smile, but everyone else wasn't. So anyway, we ended up doing crown lengthening. I think it was 5 to 5, and she literally, even immediately after the surgery. There's not many things in perio that you do where you see an immediate effect, but this is one of them. And she had a look in the mirror, and she literally just started crying happiness this time. And she just well, by the time everything healed, she's just a different person.
Mm.
And it's like wow, like just a couple of millimeters change in your mouth can change your whole personality. So yeah, it's amazing. I think what's possible.
Yeah, gummy smiles are one of those things. I think especially with
Yeah,
girls, I think people
yeah,
judge it. It's nothing
yeah,
you've done. Like it's just your mouth.
exactly. Yeah, and it's just often it's just either the position of the lip, position of the jaw, or things like altered passive eruption can cause gummy smiles, which is actually quite common. But it's an individual thing. That's the thing about aesthetics; it's so
Mm.
individual. But unfortunately, society has put on an idealistic of what looks good and what is beautiful and what we're trying to achieve. So, it's I don't know how things will. I think things are getting more and more aesthetically driven. So
Yeah, I'm
I
seeing
think
that more and more with my page in the posts that we put up now. If it's not amazing, perfect, how it's set up and clear
yeah, yeah,
backgrounds, etc.
yeah,
I know instantly this post might not get 100 likes, even though there's 40 odd thousand
yeah,
people on my page. And that's crazy, really, because
yeah,
it's all algorithmically based now. So there's no kind of rollover. Oh, you've got a big page, you can post anything and it'll be
yeah,
fine. It's got to be
yeah.
spotless every time.
I know Yeah. What was that program? Did you watch it on Netflix?
It's on my list. The Social Network.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Interesting. I think I don't agree with all of it, but it is interesting how these algorithms work and how we can get sucked into it all. So, um, yeah, I think it's
Give me your review of it because I am going to watch it at some point, and I'm not really bothered about spoilers because it's a documentary.
yeah. I watched it such a lot when it came out. It's good. I think it draws on some important. It just gives you basically behind the scenes of what's happening. Like when you go into Instagram, what exactly is happening? Like you're seeing certain things for a certain
Mm.
reason. It's not just that it's come up on your feed. You're getting adverts for certain things, what's being tracked on your phone. It just all I think it does is it just brings awareness to what you're doing. Now, my brother and sister-in-law, they're like the opposite to me. So they're like those people who are like against social media and they don't have an Instagram account, and they just like one of those
Like really
people.
hipsterish. Like,
Well, kind of. They're very kind of old school, and they agreed with everything. I think it's social media sometimes is a dangerous place. You can't put up. I'm not allowed to put up any photos of my niece, which is for me really difficult because I put tons of photos up, so no one even has ever seen my
yeah.
niece. Uh, so it's like that. So those kind of people would be like, yes, this program is excellent, and we must follow everything. For me, it didn't change how I actually do anything. It just increase my awareness of it. So I definitely watch it. I don't know if it would change what you do though.
Yeah, I think with that, like you saying some people shouldn't have social media, etc. I think maybe under 18s we've got a question. Maybe under 15s
Yeah,
I wouldn't give social
yeah,
media to
yeah,
because your brain's still
yeah,
developing. Um,
yeah,
and you probably know girls better than I do. I know that boys maybe you probably get away with giving social media to boys because we don't tend to bully each other mentally. It's
yeah,
more we'll beat the crap out of you because we're boys. Um,
yeah.
whereas girls are much more
Like
like it's social bullying, isn't it? It's
it
exclusion
is.
and mental warfare.
Yeah, like body image, you're seeing all these perfect people on Instagram, but have they used a filter? Have they used anything else to make them look? Are they actually like that in real life? And the thing about social media is you're really most people are just showing a side of their life. And for someone who's scrolling through those stories, that oh wow, they've got the perfect life, but most people don't. And I think it's important to be aware of that you're just seeing an element of someone's life that they've portrayed in the way they want it to be. So I love the people who just share like real life stuff and
Yeah.
just act it is. I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's art for some people though as well, isn't it? Because I know a lot of my photographs and I edit everything. So sometimes there are
Yeah.
people who are no longer in the photograph. There are,
Oh wow.
there there's birds which have been added in. There's
Oh wow, you are very
my
techy.
favorite one is I was
Yeah.
in Australia and I was sat on a bench and then I got some randomer to take the photograph and then I was just looking out into the distance because it was a nice view and I got home and I was
Yeah.
like it's just missing something and then I got on Photoshop and there's a spiral which helps you work out the golden
Yeah.
ratio and the perfect place to put things and I was like
Okay.
okay, hot air balloon. In it goes.
No way.
No one's
Hilarious.
noticed, no one knows it's fake. But so sometimes it is just artistic
Yeah.
expression, but again you can
Yeah.
have that um, impact on mental health, especially if people are doing it to their own faces and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be like hooked on social media, especially when it all kind of happened. But now, like, I know it sounds really sad, but I have set times as to when I look at my Instagram
Yeah.
account. Like, otherwise, I think it's really unhealthy. So, once a day, fine, you're on it for half an hour to an hour, but I wouldn't constantly, completely keep checking. And it's just like you're wasting your energy and time. Your mind space needs to
Mm.
be on other things as well in your day. So
It's been so
yeah,
difficult this year, hasn't it? Because what else is there to
yeah,
do?
yeah. No, you're right. It's I think it's good to obviously have other things, other hobbies like reading and occupy yourself with other things as well. It's very easy just to make your life about you and your
Mm.
phone. Um, so
We've got a
yeah,
question from someone who's sent this privately, actually, not on the chat. Um, Professor Carozzo in Newcastle. So unfortunately, we're
Yeah.
going dental again. Thank you, Abu Bakr, for this. Uh, he's an oral med guy. He always says, "Don't
Right.
scrape your tongue," and of course, I think
Yeah.
you ask people to scrape the tongue with a brush or some sort. What's your what's your take on that?
Yeah. So your tongue is basically made up of loads of little crypts, and in those crypts obviously you have bacteria which get
Yeah,
trapped, and over time you can have a tongue coating. Now tongue coating as well as gum disease are the two biggest reasons for bad breath. So cleaning your tongue, again looking at your mouth holistically, is actually I think a really important part of your oral health regime, and we definitely advise it, to the point where I actually made my own product. So I made a tongue scraper. So I was
yeah,
getting really annoyed with plastic ones. They're like terrible, and also you're throwing away plastic all the time. So I designed a metal one, which you can use like for years, and it's really effective. So we always say to our patients, scrape your tongue once or twice a day, and they absolutely love it. It's like really satisfying, like cleaning off all the gunk. Your tongue will look nicer, it will smell, everything will smell a lot
yeah,
nicer. And also the interesting thing is, a lot of my patients with anything in oral hygiene, they see it as their like me time and their self-care, and they put on a podcast and they just do their thing, and it's like their own time. A lot of them have kids, and they
yeah.
shut the door. It's the only peace and quiet they get. So I think tongue scraping is really important. It's a bit like if you had carpet, you wouldn't like never hoover it, right? Otherwise it would stink. So you've got to like, yeah, you've got to clean your tongue,
Do you know
definitely.
what the other side of the argument is? Because I've just had this as a comment. I'm not aware.
No, I actually don't. Like, I don't think, unless you were crazy aggressive with
Mm,
it, you could damage your tongue, I guess. But apart from it taking a little bit longer, I don't know what the argument would be to not doing it, actually. It's really
yeah, I
interesting.
wonder if there's some sort of oral med condition which it worsens potentially.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe.
maybe in particular patients. And for that's
Maybe.
all we've got, Abu Bakr, for that. We'll go back onto what we were talking about before this, because that was more interesting.
We,
Social media and the social network.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and people looking on Instagram and, having certain expectations. Um, yeah, I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, I've lectured on it at Manchester University. The
Yeah.
research, what they call it, I can never remember that whole long Manchester University undergraduate research conference. I think that's it. I may have got that completely wrong, but sorry guys if I did. But yeah, it was really really good. And what I was telling the guys was around dentistry, obviously, because there's a whole other side of social how the world is at the moment, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
educate yourself first, like a three-step method, then to
Yeah.
network, and then
Yeah.
eventually to promote your work. So is that something that you think's
Yeah.
about around the right kind of order? Obviously, you would be in the educate bracket now
Yeah.
because you're doing a lot of perio
Yeah,
school.
I just think, yeah, exactly. I just think you've got to, if you're setting up an Instagram account, setting up something on social media, you need to find yourself. Why are you doing it? And I personally think you should have a primary reason, and focus on that. Are you, as you said, are you doing it to educate? There's definitely one. Are you doing it, for peer recognition? That's a completely valid reason.
Mm.
If you want to share cases, that's a valid reason. Are you doing it, as you said, for networking? Are you doing it to influence and inspire people? Like, you got to have your key primary goal. Otherwise, if you try and mix everything up and not know why you're doing something, it gets really confusing, and on your account it will look really confusing as well.
Yeah,
So I think you do amazingly with what you do, and I think it's because you have a clear purpose. So I think it's just, you've got to know why you're doing it. It's quite important, and it's not for everyone. If you don't feel like doing it, that's also totally fine. Like,
yeah.
just a personal choice.
Yeah, I think it can be really fun, and if it's not fun for you, whoever you are, then
Then
it's not for you.
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting how things change. Have you got into TikTok?
I haven't. Actually, lockdown, I downloaded it and then I put on like one ridiculous video, and my husband's like, "What are you doing, Reena? Like, you look like a total idiot." And then I just thought, actually, probably TikTok isn't for me and what I'm about,
Mm,
so I ended up just not getting on it. But I think it's great. Like, it's great for people who that's their vibe. Go for it.
I can't
But
dance.
I'm
That's the problem.
Yeah, and it's just not for me. It's not my thing, I don't think.
Yeah, but some people are blowing up crazy on there. Last week,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
guy we had on, he's an oral surgeon in America,
Yeah.
2.3 million followers,
Wow.
and he's just a cool guy. He's a normal guy. I mean, he's very, very good at what he
Yeah,
does, which is part of it. But he's just a normal guy. I was like, wow.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think what you want from it as well, like by having millions of TikTok followers, what's your goal in the end? So yeah.
it's funny because he's made all his nurses and like reception staff mini celebrities. Like people actually know
Oh,
them,
wow.
which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, you definitely need to check that out because he was good fun. What inspires you then? Because I think a lot of the things that you're doing seem quite. You've got an idea, haven't you? And there's a little
Yeah.
kind of like Rena's got a drive. Where's it coming from?
Yeah. I don't know, I think I've always been quite driven. Maybe it's the way I kind of grew up. My parents have always kind of push. I think it does come from when how you've been brought up, and especially my dad has always pushed me to be like the best version of myself. So it's always been inbuilt in me that whatever I do, I want to do it to the best of my ability, and try and get not more so a competitive way, but actually just do the best I
Yeah,
can. So everything I've done, I've done that, and I've always tried to push myself as well with whatever I do. And years ago, I went on Tony Robbins' Unleash Your, what was it called? Unleash, oh, I can't remember now. He went with Robbins and I absolutely loved it. And I've always remembered, making sure you push yourself out your comfort zone is a massive thing for me. So if I feel too comfortable somewhere, I'd be like, no, like building a clinic on High Street was something I dreamed of when I was like a
yeah,
undergraduate, and at that time it was incomprehensible. Like I did not ever think really I wanted it, but I was like, that's such a far away goal. But I just keep pushing. So, and I think it's fun. Like you start seeing results, and then you want to do some more, and you keep pushing yourself. And I think you just got to enjoy the process. So a lot of people just want to get to that end goal, but even I've seen a lot of successful people, even when they get to that end goal, they're never really that happy.
yeah. It's the
So I
next
think
thing,
I found that,
and then
yeah, it's
next
the
thing.
next thing and next thing, next thing until they get, and then you're never really satisfied. So I think the whole point is pick a journey that you'll enjoy, like the whole part of it, and that will drive you in itself because you'll enjoy it and you'll see the results and you'll want to do more. I've been really lucky with that with the people I've had around me as well, who have helped me. I think support is quite important if you've got a goal to be driven. You also have to have the right environment around you as
Yeah,
well.
no,
So
that support network is so important. There's like an adage that you're the average of the three people you
it's
spend
just,
the most time with,
yeah,
or your three best friends.
it's fine. Yeah, but yeah, either way, I think that close 3 to 5 people around you is absolutely critical, and that's why I think you've got to surround yourself with people who are going to push you, people who are positive. Otherwise, their energy will just drain you out and affect you as well. So I used to have like tons of like friends, like tons of average friends. Sounds really bad, but now I have like small group
The
of
common
amazing.
people.
Yeah, no, well, no, it's not that. I think it's just I've realized as I've kind of grown a little bit older that having just a few really good friends around me that inspire me is literally so key.
Yeah.
And that's helped me a lot.
You don't have time to maintain hundreds of relationships
No,
like you did when you were younger
no,
because
no, exactly.
life changes. You've got 9 to 5 work,
Yeah,
so that takes that
yeah,
third of your day. Then you've got a third
yeah.
sleeping, maybe depending on how lazy you are,
Yeah.
and then you've got maybe a third left, and you've got to eat, and then socialize within that, and then you have to prioritize who's
Yeah,
going to take your time, and you've
yeah,
got a husband to look after or to entertain
yeah.
or whatever, however your dynamic goes.
It's not for me, but anyway, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. I think it's you've got to be sensible with your time. And also you want to have valuable relationships. You want to have quality time with people.
Mm.
And you can't do that with like 50 people. So
It
yeah.
was Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. I googled it.
That's it. Unleash Power Within. Yeah. That was fun. I would recommend that. We had to walk on fire and like it was really cool. Yeah.
What's that got to do with? How does that work?
What do you mean? Walk on
Like
fire? Well, it's the mind game, right? And you all like say yes, and you have to like shout out like I think it was cool moss. He kept saying cool moss because it's all a mind game. So even though you're walking on fire, you're fine because in your head it's not fire, it's cool moss, and it's cold and you're fine, and everyone's like it's really fun.
Did you burn your feet
But
though?
no, I didn't. That's the thing. Like, I didn't. I actually didn't burn my feet. It's really weird. But you've
What?
got to be
How?
in the zone. I don't know. I actually don't know. It's like a mental thing. Like, you've
Was
got to
it a
be in the
real
zone.
fire? Like, did you get a marshmallow
Yeah,
out and check it?
there was coal. Yeah, it was hot.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it was a real fire.
that's crazy. I need
Um,
to look into that. That sounds like some dark magic or something. You know,
no,
I'm very
it
very
was
suspect about what he's doing.
no. Tony Robbins is amazing. Like, yeah,
um, Something that I generally ask people that come on the podcast, a couple of questions. Any books that you've read recently? I know we've had a lot of time off this year, that's kind of
yeah,
changed your mind on anything. It doesn't have to be dental related. It doesn't have to be, anything. Just something that you've gone, wow, that was a great book.
yeah. Probably the best one so far this year is Tim Ferriss' Tribe of Mentors. Absolutely brilliant. Very, very good book. Lots and tons of knowledge in there. Tons of little gems that you've got to read it a few times, and you've got to read it in bits. That's been brilliant. I also like an author called Maria Popova, and she wrote a book. She has a blog as well called Brain Pickings, and it's like the most beautifully written book. It's like I can only read like a few pages at a
Mm.
time, but it's the most beautiful English. It's like amazing. So it's yeah, I really enjoyed reading that. She basically summarizes writing from like centuries ago and makes it understandable and useful for this day and age. So, but Tim Ferriss, I definitely recommend everyone to check that out.
He's
Tribe
got
of
quite a
Mentors,
few really good books actually. He's on my
yeah,
list, and
yeah,
Mark Manson's on my list as well. What were the
yeah,
takeaways for
yeah.
you from Tim?
So many. I couldn't even like put a finger on. Honestly, like every page has a
Yeah,
takeaway point. One of the big ones was actually in the title is the importance of a mentor and having someone guide you along the way. I think the world is a scary place, but having someone, even someone just a little bit ahead of you to guide you along the way is I think is critical. So
who's
yeah.
done that for you then, or are you still searching for that person?
No, I've got a few mentors. One of them, one of my key mentors for like dental stuff is a guy, you probably haven't heard of him. He's got like zero social media profile. He hasn't even got a website yet. His name's Asif Said, and I met him during my VT year. He's a business consultant. He was a dentist for 10, 15 years, and now he's a dental business consultant,
Oh,
and
he
he's very
sounds interesting. You
successful.
might have to give me his details.
Oh my God, that would be his first social media appearance. Such a smart
Yeah,
guy. Literally like this, these people who like know everything about everything. And a lot of the decisions I've made along the way have been because of him. His idea was setting up a practice. His idea was, anything that I'm not sure about, I run it past him. And everyone that knows him will say one thing, that whatever he says, it just works. So he's been a great inspiration.
yeah.
There's lots of other people in the perio field, like Ian Chappell's one of my great, inspirations. He's helped me along the way with perio things. And yeah, I think we owe it to our mentors. And even if you don't call them a mentor, like you don't always call people, you are my mentor, like anyone who's
It's
guided
not a
you along
formal
the way.
position.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So anyone who's kind of guided you along the way, and I think we should also do the same for others
Mm.
as well. So that's why when ask me for help, I always try and like make it happen, because I wouldn't be where I am without any the help I've had along the way. So I think we got to support each other for
We have an
sure.
update on the tongue scraping thing. Apparently,
Oh
Prof.
yeah.
Carozzo just says it's stupid. So I don't know whether there was any.
Exactly, evidence based.
I
Like
don't
you
know
need
if
to
there
check the.
was. He's a very old school Italian oral med
Oh, right.
professor. He is hilarious. I don't know whether he's just trolling his patients, because he does do that. So I don't know. So I'm not sure about the whole lowdown there. I would love to speak to him one day actually.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah, we should get him on and we can have like a tongue scraping argument
I
about it,
have been
debate.
using his lectures on my story quite a lot. What do you know, the oral med? What's this? What's that? So I don't know whether
Yeah,
he's gonna have a little shout at me if he says that. But
yeah.
yeah. The other question I like to ask is, if you had your very own podcast, it's just the Reena Wadia show.
Yeah.
What would you be talking about, and who would you be talking to as your first couple of guests?
Yeah, I'd probably make mine non-dental and reach out to people who are successful in their own
Yeah.
industries, and trying to find out how did you get there and what are the common themes between individuals, as well. I think I'd find that really interesting. And even, any industry, any other healthcare sector, anything, finance, whatever, what's, as you're kind of doing today with journeys, like what was your journey, how did you get there, and trying to like spot common themes and then use that to help guide people. That'd be really cool, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to a couple of people who are different, not in a bad way, but like, yeah, there was an accountant, dental accountant.
Yeah.
That was like really, really interesting. And I was sat there and I was glad that I'd done some reading and kind of research on these things, because God, I could have sounded so stupid on that podcast if I hadn't done that. But there was so much information out there that's relevant to us as dentists,
Yeah.
but it's not teeth related. And I think that's what I want to bring to everyone.
100% agree. I think it's very easy. Like, there was a stage where like all my friends were dental, everything I did was dental. I think that we can get cooped up in a little bubble
Yeah.
and not think outside the box. So I think when we mix in with other industries and find out what they're doing and expand our knowledge, it's really interesting, and there's so much to learn apart from dental.
Yeah, because I mean, there's only so many times you can talk about how to do a root canal
Yeah,
or
exactly.
a gum lift, as they like to call
Yeah.
it, apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. What's something that you would tell yourself if you weren't? I know this is such a cringe, go back to when you're 18. What's that advice you'd give to someone starting out now?
What's the advice I'd give to someone starting out now? Well, the whole comfort zone thing is a big thing for me, but apart from that, um, I would say set goals, which are big, but also have some sort of like steps to get
Yeah.
there. I think is important. I don't think, oh, I want to click on high street. Okay, work your way back. Okay, how am I going to do that? What do I need to do first? What's the next step? And then don't get too overwhelmed. Just ask yourself, what's the next best step? And that's really helped me, because sometimes I'm like got this huge goal in my head and I'm like, how am I going to get from A to like Z? But it's like, what's my next best step? Okay, my next best step is I need to do dentistry first.
Yeah.
Okay, my next best step. And then each time you ask yourself, what's the next best step? And you're making those decisions as you go along, and slowly, slowly things start to add up. So I think that's quite an important thing I would say to
Yeah, for
myself.
me, it's usually what's my next meal. So maybe you need to specify that before we give that particular advice. Otherwise, I'm just going to be, okay, chicken wings next, which I hope the orders come in. Actually, we did order some earlier. Um, Maybe the last couple of questions that I'm going to ask you, because I know we want to cap around an hour.
Sure.
What's something, and your husband's going to probably pipe up now in the background. What's something that you are absolutely convinced of, like in your heart, is true, but everyone disagrees with you on it?
Oh, what do I know is true, but everyone disagrees?
It could be as simple as you think Cafe Nero is better than Starbucks or something like that. Is there something really trivial that just gets you worked up and you go, I'm right and you're all wrong?
Well, one thing my husband like literally hates me for, I think I'm really neat, right? I think I'm really organized and neat, and he thinks I'm like the messiest person ever. And Neil, get out my shot. So he literally thinks that I'm the messiest person ever, and we always argue about it. But for me, like, yeah, I feel like I've got an organized mess. But everyone else thinks I'm really messy. I think I'm organized where I need to be and neat where I need to be.
Yeah.
So yeah. Go away.
Is he popping into shot? Is he?
He's trying to like give my comes a thumbs down to me. So yeah.
Yeah. And the last question I'll ask you, which I really should have started with, but with everything that's happened this year, you know, start of the year, COVID happens, etc., etc. How you really doing?
Yeah, I think it's been a really tough year, but um, it's also been a real eye-opener year where you slow down, you've realized, or I've realized what is important in life as well. I think that time where we actually all weren't
Mm,
working, I realized how much I missed just do it, like going for a walk in the park and like doing just relaxing. So I think there's been a lot of COVID has brought, in fact, what I've done, it sounds a little bit sad. but I made a list of what I call COVID gifts and what COVID, because at one point I was like really bit like down about the whole thing, like, God, this is, you know, brought so many things with it. And of course, it is a terrible time, especially for the ones who have suffered. But I made a list of COVID gifts, and I came up with like 10 things that I've either done or realised during COVID. One of the biggest things was Perio School, where the problem was I do quite a lot of talks and courses, and they all got cancelled because of the lockdown. And so I set up an online Perio School, and that's probably been one of the most successful things I've ever done. And you know, touch wood, everyone's really enjoying the online course. I thought, wow, I never would have done that if COVID didn't happen. And now it's just a new platform where I can share and educate. So I think COVID has been definitely an eye opener. It's been an innovative year, and I think we have to take things from it positively, rather than just being, oh, 2020 was a write-off, I hate this year. Actually, you know what? This is the year where we all were changed, and the world changed. So there are gifts, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think to be honest, like dental education won't go back to the way it was before.
No, it won't. No, I think things have really just, Zoom is just so normal now. So which is good. I think it just, I think it will bring a lot of opportunities with it as well. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think we'll call it there because I know you needed to head off, didn't you, at some point?
Yes, thank
Where
you.
can we find you online?
Sure. So my Instagram is practice Instagram is our domain sort of dental gum account, and my personal is Reena Wadia. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me on. You're doing such an amazing job with everything. Really enjoy listening to all your things. So keep it up. And thanks for those who listened in and tuned in.
Yeah, guys, if you've been watching live, make sure to head over and follow Reena on both her pages. Make sure to hit the like button. Leave a comment down below if you've got any questions for either of us. Subscribe to the channel, and is there anything I'm missing? Check out the Patreon group if you want to help me out running the channel. Starts from about £3 a month, where you get access to a exclusive Discord server with a few dentists on there, and we have a bit of fun. So please do check that out. We'll be back soon again. Huge thank you to Reena for coming on.
Thanks again. Take care. Bye.
Okay, we're offline. How